Hello, hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, 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 hello,
बोल नहीं रहा हूँ, इधर चेक कर।
hello, hello, hello.
Mr. Nadir B, Chairperson, Godrej Industries Group.
Hello, 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 hello.
We are also delighted to warmly welcome our special guest, Dr. Mrs. Rati Godrej, Mrs. Bharat and Mr. Godrej Industries, and thank them for being with us on this special day. Before we begin further, I would like to request the audience to kindly sign the sections so that we can keep the focus on today's engagement and not on someone's deliberations. With that, I request everyone to kindly rise for the Institute song.
जयति जयति विद्या संस्था जयति जयति विद्या संस्था वृक्षलताओं से आच्छादित वृक्षलताओं से आच्छादित पक्षी करते कलरव गान जयति जयति विद्या संस्थान जयति जयति विद्या संस्थान शोधर शिक्षण से छेड़े शोधर शिक्षण से छेड़े मानव मूल्यों का अभियान समाज चेतना का दीप जलाकर समाज चेतना का दीप जलाकर देश को पहुंचाए सम्मान जयति जयति
seated. We shall now begin with the ceremonial lighting of the lamp, symbolizing the dispelling of ignorance and ushering in of knowledge and wisdom. May I request our dignitaries on stage to kindly light the lamp.
May I now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Badri Narayan Tiwari, to felicitate our esteemed guests. I invite him to kindly felicitate Mr. S. Ramadorai with a token of our respect and gratitude. I now request him to present Mr. Nadir Godrej with a token of our appreciation.
It is now my privilege to introduce our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Badri Narayan Tiwari. Professor Badri Narayan Tiwari is a distinguished social historian, cultural anthropologist, and a poet with a rich legacy of scholarship and public engagement. He writes extensively in both English and Hindi on democracy, development, Dalit and subaltern politics, and the interplay between power and culture in diverse community contexts. Professor Tiwari is also an award-winning Hindi poet, recipient of the prestigious Sahitya Academy Award 2022 for his poetry collection Tumhi Ke Shab, and the Kanhaiya Sethia Award for Poetry 2025 by the Jaipur Literature Festival. His recent book, Republic of Hindutva, How Sangh is Reshaping Indian Democracy, is part of a widely acclaimed body of work. Professor Tiwari's extensive literary contributions has consolidated his position as a prominent public intellectual. His leadership is a harmonious blend of rigorous scholarship, institutional development, and an unwavering commitment to inclusive education and culturally rooted knowledge systems. He consistently strives to integrate contemporary conversations and knowledge frames with the grandeur of Indianness, indigenous knowledge, and wisdom in all aspects of our life, in our understanding, actions, and being. May I request Professor Tiwari to address the gathering.
Godrej. This is, and all of you, those who came here to participate in this first Ratan Tata Memorial Lecture, which is our flagship lecture program, which we started from this year in the memory of Ratan Tata. Faculty and everyone who is here, I welcome all of you. So this is, as I said, this is the first lecture series, and we, on the behalf of the Institute, are very thankful to Mr. Nadir B for accepting our request to deliver first lecture, which is going to set a tone for the future lectures and future discourses on education. You may know better than me that his relation with the TIS and the way he worked with the TIS, with the idea, he gave the idea of the TIS, or he was the idea of the TIS. And the late Ratan Tata ji had a long and meaningful association with the Tata Institute of Social Science. After he was appointed chairman of Tata Sons in 1991, he took a deep interest in TIS and was involved in its growth and success. In recognition of his leadership, philanthropy, and alignment with the Institute's value, TIS conferred upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Literature in 2006. In 2026, under Shri Ratan Tata Fellow leadership, Tata Trust supported TIS to launch a connected learning initiative. In 2022, TIS became a Grant Age Institute. Today is a very historic day. Today we have signed an MOU with the Government of India to become a fully government-aided institute. And this is the day which is coincidentally combined two kind of working process and memory. One is the Tata which generated, Tata ji and the Tata legacy had generated in the field of education in the form of TIS, and also with the government support. And both are going to work in the same direction to make a very comfortable and a stronger nation, and a nation of the equity and the social comfort, and that is the India. So the both commitments have combined, and our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji wrote an article, wonderful article on Ratan Tata ji, in which he admired his ideas, the way he built up, contributed in making the India. So someone asked me that what inspired you to do this, organize this lecture series? Because when I came 6 months back, and I took first decision to organize Ratan Tata Memorial. I said two things. One is his compassionate smile, which promise you that will resolve your all problems. Secondly, which inspired me is his idea, and this is the idea of this. The idea of this is creating a socially comfortable, socially equitable nation. So nation, meaning of nation, he tried to explore in society, and in that way it's a very unique contribution. So in both ways, Ratan Tata ji is our inspiring light. He is, and he will remain with us. His memories, his experience, his talks, his words, his conversations, which are roaming around the Tata Institute campus. If you go anywhere, people will start telling their memories that Ratan Tata ji used to come here, he used to sit here, he used to talk here. So all these conversations which create a capital of memory for us, and those memories will guide us for making a wonderful TIS, for making a wonderful institution, wonderful country as India. And the person who has kindly accepted our request to deliver, he is extending the same and similar kind of legacy. Legacy of of the same ideas, of similar ideas, to evolve a wonderful nation, a wonderful society. And Professor Shri Nadir is a poet, is a wonderful poet. I read his poems, and I admire some of the poems. I read at least 4 or 5 times his poem Waiting. Waiting is a wonderful poem. So to welcome him, I recite one of his poems, then I stop my welcome address and go and sit and listen to him. So his one poem, which very motivated, inspired me, and I liked it a lot, The Rain. Bombay and rain has a very close relationship. So the rain, I hear the steady patter of the rain. It is that time of year again. My unused shoes are covered by a mold. My clothes are damp. My books look yellow old. And every now and then I feel the pain of fevers brought on by the steamy rain. I do enjoy the vivid green of trees, the stormy sight of tumulus seas, and waves that break in burst of froth on rocks, and tetrapods that serves to break the shocks, the feel of rain on my back as I swim and watch blue water overflow the beam. And yet my thoughts are of a different time, of summers in a Mediterranean clime. So this is a wonderful poem when there's the rain, and there's a lot of things to tell about the poem, but this is not right technical. But so it's good, and he may recite it wonderful, much better than me, but I try to recite it for you, and that is the best, a kind of thanks, welcome, and congratulations on behalf of entire case family to Mr. Nadir B for coming here and accepting our request to the organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words of encouragement, sir. They certainly serve as a guiding force for us. It is now my honor to introduce the chairman for the evening, Mr. S. Ramadorai, a distinguished corporate leader, institution builder, and a visionary leader who has made significant contributions to nation building. He is no stranger to DISS, an institution he has been closely connected with and contributed to over the years. He served as the chairperson of the governing body at DISS for over 10 years. Mr. Ramadorai currently serves as chairperson of Mission Karmayogi Bharat, the national program for civil services capacity building. Earlier, he had also served as the chairman of the National Skill Development Agency and the National Skill Development Corporation. His corporate leadership is equally inspiring. Mr. Ramadorai joined Tata Consultancy Services in 1972 and became its CEO in 1996. He continued as vice chairman until 2014, completing over 4 decades with the organization. He led TCS through a remarkable phase of growth and transformation. TCS evolved from $155 million organization to $6 billion global IT services powerhouse. His deep commitment to the social sector is reflected in his leadership roles across premier institutes, including the National Institute of Advanced Studies, the Public Health Foundation of India, among many others. He also served as chairperson of Kala Kshetra Foundation's governing board from February 2020 to 2025. In recognition of his extraordinary contributions, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan in 2006 and the Commander of the Order of the British Empire for his contribution to Indo-British economic relations. An engineer by training and a technologist at heart, Mr. Ramadorai holds degrees from University of Delhi, Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore, University of California, Los Angeles, and the Sloan School of Management. He chronicled India's IT journey in his widely acclaimed book, The TCS Story and Beyond. He is also passionate about photography and Indian classic music. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. S. Ramadorai.
It is now time to introduce the distinguished speaker of today's event. It is a great privilege for us to have Mr. Nadir Godrej deliver the inaugural Ratan Tata Memorial Lecture. He is a true Renaissance man. Beyond the boardroom, a man of many interests and passions. Science, linguistics, he speaks 6 languages, a player of chess, and an avid poet. Mr. Nadir Godrej is the chairperson of the Godrej Industries Group and the chairperson and managing director of Godrej Industries Ltd. He is also the chairperson of Godrej Agrobet and serves on the boards of Godrej Consumer Products, Godrej Properties, Aztec Life Sciences, and other group companies. He is deeply engaged with industry and academia and has been associated with organizations as the CII, Indian Chemical Council, amongst many others. He is currently the president of the Alliance Française de Bombay. Mr. Godrej has received
numerous national and international honors for his contributions to business, sustainability, and society, including the Knight of the Legion of Honor, multiple Lifetime Achievements Awards, and honorary doctorates from leading institutions. Most recently, he was recognized with the Hurun Most Respected Indian Industrialist Award and was conferred with the honorary doctorate from the Institute of Chemical Technology. He holds a bachelor's in science from MIT, master's from Stanford University in chemical engineering, and an MBA from the Harvard Business School. Since joining the Godrej Group in 1977, he has played a pivotal role in building its animal feed, agricultural inputs, and specialty chemical businesses, and holds several patents in agricultural chemicals and surfactants. He is the author of 2 poetry books, Life and Other Poems, and Nadir Godrej the Poet. So taking a leaf out of Professor Tiwari's book, I would now like to invite him with a small verse. A leader of the industry, a poet at heart, science meets verse, he makes both worlds an art. A titan of industry, yet a poet refined. In science and in verse, rare harmony we find. Please welcome Mr. Nadir Godrej.
Professor Tiwari and fellow poet Shri Ramadorai, Dr. Mullah, Dr. Mishra, thank you very much for inviting me here today. Ratan Tata. The Tata family survived times of stress and still achieved great success. Naval Tata sought to steer Ratan into becoming an engineer. He switched from engineering to architecture and had to hear his father's long lecture. But for the group, it worked out fine. He acquired an aesthetic of good design. He loved out-of-the-box thinking, as well as experimentation and tinkering. Startups got mentorship and support. His advice was eagerly sought. As a pilot, he loved to fly high and see the broad picture from the sky. After JRD, Ratan then took the reins. Since then, we've seen exponential gains. It was a new age of liberalization, the economic awakening of our nation. With powerful satraps, Ratan had to contend. But very soon, he was able to send most of the overlords on their way, and thereafter, Ratan confidently held sway. He was courageous and very bold, made big global bets, truth be told. In spite of losses, he wouldn't fold, as TCS's stock had turned to gold. As these strategies were unfurled, the group spread all over the world. He was a man of empathy and compassion, even though it wasn't the fashion. As a Tata, of course, he stood very tall, but grace and simplicity was always his call. His dogs were very much part of his life, a perfect escape from stress and strife. On 26/11/08, he received a great blow, but he recovered and was able to show that everyone's pain the group could share, and for one and all, they would care. Ratan Tata can surely inspire all of us to aim even higher. The Parsis had a simple creed which helped them all succeed. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. A mantra that serves the business needs. J.R.D. Tata put it on the family crest. It encouraged them to do their best. Ratan believed in doing the right thing. There is a cost this philosophy can bring, but nothing actually is lost as benefits outweigh the cost. In the Tata business, he played a major role, but encouraging entrepreneurs was also a goal. The Tata Trust got much attention. Serving people was his intention. Relief and empowerment he could bring, another way of doing the right thing. The businesses and trusts played a role in achieving India's development goal. Business. Now, Adam Smith was very wise. He saw the benefit of free enterprise. Maximizing individual gain can alleviate economic pain. In socialist regimes, people refuse to work without adequate rewards. They prefer to shirk. The invisible hand is better than a plan. Good competition uncannily can throw out the chaff, select good grain, and for the economy, this is the gain. But of course, we have to take care that the competition is fair. There are many benefits businesses show. After all, they help the economy grow. Jobs are created, good careers are curated, a steady focus on innovation brings new products for the nation. But is this enough? Should business do more? The Tatas, of course, did so for sure. Swaraj. While we were under British domination, our leaders strove for the creation of a truly independent nation with an economy free of exploitation. The British brought us all to heel. Could we be liberated by the spinning wheel? Perhaps, but to really succeed, modern industry was the need. Businessmen, of course, could lead, but it shouldn't be all about greed. Mahatma Gandhi took a good grip and propounded trusteeship. Many Indians could clearly see the logic of this legacy and practice corporate social responsibility as well as contributing to philanthropy. With the Bajaj family, this is what you find. Ardeshir Godrej also comes to mind. Many others took this to heed. The Indian economy began to succeed. Ardeshir and Pirojsha Godrej, the founders of the Godrej Group. Ardeshir was our illustrious founder. We couldn't have asked for anyone sounder. Though just a lawyer by profession, invention was his true obsession. His first case was in Zanzibar, and he could have been a star if he resorted to a lie. This made him feel he could not ply this dubious practice anymore, as honesty was at his core. Now, Mahatma Gandhi was a friend, and self ruled then the future trend. Ardeshir once just pointed out that he had a serious doubt that deep economic dependence might well preclude our independence, a point the Mahatma conceded. But then he promptly proceeded to turn the tables on his friend and asked him to work to that end. And so he set up his business venture, which proved to be such an adventure. Ardeshir's focus was invention. His single-minded intention was proving that he could do it, he could succeed, and he knew it. For Indian goods could be the best, surpassed the British by every test. He scorned the thought of protection and chose to prevail by perfection, which he could achieve. His customers could all perceive his products were the very best. and constantly put to the test. He always had in his sight total customer delight. To greater heights he would aspire. His safes survived ordeal by fire. During the war, a ship exploded. The outer walls of safes eroded, but the inner contents were intact. And even when thieves attacked, they could barely pit and dent. Sometimes the plates were slightly bent. But the safes would never break, and the thieves could never take any goods his safes secured. For years and years, his fame endured. There was no limit to his scope. He worked as hard in tackling soap. For many years he tried his hand until he could well understand the ins and outs of making soap. To vegetarians he gave new hope. The other makers were all callow. They filled their soap with lard and tallow, and that too rendered in the street, which meant that it couldn't meet proper standards of hygiene. Indeed, it was a sorry scene. And thanks to his tireless toil, good soap could now be made from oil. This set the trend of innovation in order to build a nation. Ardeshir was a butterfly, and each new flower he would try, while flitting there deeply drink. But then he would always think, it's time to try another flower. And yes, he had the wondrous power to range quite far and still excel. By now I'm sure that you can tell that Ardeshir could fly and soar, but often found it quite a bore to build a hive that would last. For that role he was not cast. Ardeshir was an inventor seer, quite confident, free from fear. Pirojsha was the one who built an institution that would not tilt, standing straight and standing tall, answering a higher call. Our founders were a special breed. Together they fulfilled a need. Ardeshir missed a family life, for early on he lost his wife. The tragedy had left its mark. It could well have been the spark that led Ardeshir to build the nation on the back of innovation. Each of them had his role. Together they achieved the goal. Ardeshir's role was to create new things he could initiate. Pirojsha's role was to sustain. Thanks to him, we still remain. The Lal Bagh factory was constricted. Our prospects there quite restricted. His distractors couldn't understand, but Pirojsha bought Vikhroli land. His motivation was to expand, but one also has to understand that workers' welfare was in his heart, and that played a major part. Ardeshir was a man who lived for others, treated his fellow men as brothers, praised his products to the skies, but never stooped to publicize his own deeds, which were very great. And before it was too late, he gave his wealth to charity. He achieved a certain parity between action and contemplation, and as the heirs of their creation, we must maintain their innovation and the spirit of sublimation. Their message we must always heed. We mustn't succumb to undue greed. Before we act, we should pause, do what's right in the greater cause, and then perhaps we'll reach our goals, become like them, victorious souls. The socialist age. As India approaches her 80th year, there is indeed much to cheer, and we could claim that we have both stability and reasonable growth. But when we started at the gate, all we could claim was the Hindu rate. An opportunity was lost, and India paid a heavy cost. In our republic's early days, there is so much that we should praise. It gives us all much elation. Our selfless leaders built a nation. Civil discourse was maintained. A scientific temper was gained. Alas, one thing we didn't see was a free enterprise economy. Nehru had a socialist bent, and that's the way the economy went. Heavy industry was prized. Some sectors were nationalized. The government seized the commanding heights. Not much left for lesser lights. And where they were allowed to play, impediments came in the way. Such horrors business would see. Exchange controls, MRTP, licensing in great detail, and limitations on your scale. Tax rate that confiscated all. The economy just hit a wall. One man would not accept this fall. A.D. Shroff then took a call. Surprised by these alarming trends, he roped in some business friends for the forum of free enterprise. Now, A.D. Shroff was truly wise, for in every kind of polity, the have-nots like equality. And often people think it's good to have someone like Robin Hood who creeps upon the rich with stealth and distributes unequal wealth. And this was tried in many ways. Long ago in the Soviet days, it's true, disparities were small, although behind the Kremlin wall, officials lived a life of ease while the economy was on its knees. Before we start to distribute, someone else must contribute. And if you take what people make, they will then feel they have no stake. You can't be sure that they won't try, they won't produce, they'd rather die. And so, although equality is a desired quality, it can't replace our liberty. We can't produce unless we're free. And yet for years we couldn't see that a socialist society could not produce the goods we needed if only then we had heeded the good advice of M.R. Pai, and all we had to do was try and look from a different prism and thus give up on socialism. If only we could have been wise in trying out free enterprise. The gains that now we see at last, we could have had them in our past. We had to awake Manmohan Singh, World Bank and IMF to bring reforms that help to save the day and demonstrate the golden way. The Indian economy today. Our labor laws have been such that industry couldn't do much in labor-intensive production. There was far too much obstruction. But the stimulus of PLI, in many industries we can try. Defense exports are on the rise. In deep tech, everyone tries. We export lots of mobile phones, and India now steadily hones high-tech manufacturing skills. Production-linked incentive fills the coffers needed to expand. Much can be done with this in hand. New projects are being bold. Now chips are also in our fold, and thanks to our digital stack, there are many problems we can crack. Indeed, India could succeed where knowledge was the need. Much progress we can see in pharma, chemicals, and IT. And I, for one, am very sure the export growth will endure. The pandemic has accelerated future trends long awaited. E-commerce, AI, digitization are growing fast in every nation. While digitization was a trend, the curve is now on an upward bend. The pandemic has made us wise and taught us how to digitize. And these new trends can only grow. Good benefits are bound to flow. The digital world's now at our feet and surely helps us to compete. Now Atmanirbhar is the call, so never again will we stall. Disruption that caused China pain now proved to be India's gain. So India has now clearly won the right to be China +1, but our response must be sprightly. We can't take the Chinese threat lightly. For all our companies, we also see a productivity increase from AI and digitization, which leads to cost elimination, or at least a significant reduction in marketing, supply chain, and production. But business should always carefully see that AI is used responsibly. AI that advances with stealth sometimes affects mental health. Of course, AI can make great strides, but let's prevent suicides. It would also be very wise to ensure everyone learns to utilize AI to help employees steer and establish a good career. The gig economy is on the rise, but don't you think it would be wise to provide gig workers a safety net? On a bank of credits we should bet. Like the education policy does with schools, we should have employment pools. For safety funds, insurance and pensions, smooth transfers can help to reduce tensions. But the biggest benefit that I see is in enhancing our R&D. We've been good at incremental, but let's do more that's fundamental. Individually or in collaboration with partnerships with every nation, and collectively we all ought to give new technology good support. We must go further, truth be told. Deep tech should now be in our fold. New horizons are in sight. The future will be very bright. ESG. According to Steven Pinker, and supported by many a thinker, the world's becoming a better place, though at a slow but steady pace. And yet there are problems for sure, and climate change is at the fore. Inequality is also dire and maybe getting much higher. If progress on all these is slow, the consequences are grave, we know. Their abilities and constraints are such that governments can't do much. NGOs have few means but ability, and businesses have means but don't see these issues as part of their core. For profits is how they would score. But businesses slowly realize that profit is a short-term prize. After all, what do businesses gain if they die out and don't sustain? But how much can they afford to spend to ensure their existence doesn't end? The answer is not easy to find, but a thought still comes to my mind. If the efforts of all are combined, the synergies that we can find reduces costs and raises gain and obviates inevitable pain. There's a capitalistic strain that enthrones shareholder gain, and Milton Friedman could see that this simplistic philosophy could lead to great efficiency. But where there's externality, this capitalism, red in tooth and claw, can prove to be a dismal flaw. Correction can come from regulation or even from self-remediation. And Adam Smith himself foresaw that business could address this flaw. It should be clearly understood one can do well by doing good. Doing it smartly, we do better. So why not be the trendsetter? In capitalism's early days, we see social responsibility in some degree. To dissipate the urban gloom, both Cadbury, Lord Leverhulme, then pioneered the company town. Some observers would surely frown at their extremely paternal attitude, but many might view it with gratitude. We should remember, in that age, it compensated their lowly wage. It's time to get the Tata Group now very much into the loop, because it seemed morally right. The Tata Group then set its sight at such a very lofty height for what trade unions had to fight in Europe for several years was gifted by these worthy seers from the goodness of their heart. Undoubtedly, this played a part in honing their great reputation and then contributing to the nation. And doing good is very sound. What goes around comes around. Doing good isn't just a cost. The gain outweighs all that's lost. My grandfather probably saw these examples and found no flaw. He bought far away marshy land. His critics just couldn't understand. They concluded he had gone quite mad, but today we are glad, not sad. A township then slowly arose, and this is where our business grows. We provided every needed tool, housing, hospital, and school. My uncle, known as SPG, way back could clearly see the environment was under stress. Neglect, he knew, would be a mess. Our creekside land was reserved, the mangroves there well preserved, and from my office I gaze out there, a Mumbai view that's very rare, with greenery all the way until you sight New Bombay. And now and then with friends I float on a gentle moving boat, with pink flamingos in full flight, to my mind a splendid sight. In saving tigers he played a role. The environment was a major goal. The Tata Trusts, as we all know, get a very constant flow of dividends from shares they own. It may not be quite as well known. Our trusts also have a share, the proportion smaller, but it's there. And here I think we all ought to pay careful heed to Michael Porter. With shared value, there's no cost. For doing good, as nothing's lost. All it takes is a thinking brain to remove a societal pain and combine it with a business gain to create a sustainable chain of endless mutual benefit. This concept is a tremendous hit. We thought that we should also try and see if we could apply this philosophy to our group. Our employees also joined the loop. In the year 2010, studies were commissioned, and then, with the help of DASRA and FSG, our new program, one could see, we aptly named it Good and Green, and what a journey it has been. And how do we define our role? What could be a proper goal? Now, the UN has a lengthy list, so in recounting, some would be missed. So I will focus on just three that I think would be the key for all the others to fall in place and enable us to win the race. Good health through perfect sanitation, environment, and education. All of these can be seen in our program, Good and Green. It is no longer climate change within a tolerable range. A crisis is what it's about, with fires, floods, as well as drought. Every week, a constant blast, far worse than seen in the past. If we must, we will adapt. Prevention, though, would be more apt. There is a cost to adaptation. It's rising fast in every nation, as well as for the world at large. This will be a heavy charge. In fact, we should all conclude prevention would be really shrewd. In practice, it would cost much less and avoid a lot of stress. All industries should play a role in the carbon neutral goal. GHG emissions should be reduced, more green energy should be produced, and so without partiality, our goal for all is neutrality, whether water, carbon, or solid waste, and very soon we will make haste to make our net emissions zero. Will that make the group a hero? In 2010, the goal looked tall, but we took a reasoned call. Technology would save the day. So far, it has turned out that way. To achieve these goals, we will strive to do it all by 2035. As technology takes a leap, green energy gets very cheap. Keen observers quickly saw that solar also tracks Moore's law, whether groundnut shell or bagasse are India's full of biomass. At first, we thought we'd have to spend, but that's not true, for in the end, the more we thought and the more we slaved, we did invest, but we also saved. And solar is still getting cheaper, and as we start digging deeper, in India it will hit the goal of being cheaper than even coal in just a handful of years. Already we and our peers are sourcing solar electricity at lower rates than from the utility. For quite some time we've been extorted as their finances aren't still sorted. A silver lining can be seen since it incentivizes green. Offsets help elimination, and rural electrification with distributed solar power is now the need of the hour. Our cost of water is not so high, therefore we attempt to try to reduce our water consumption. But all the same, it's a safe assumption our water use won't disappear. And so to be neutral, I fear, we will have to mitigate. Though fortunately, I can state that developing a watershed doesn't cost much, and instead, our agribusiness can benefit, the government will do its bit, but where it fails, we'll fill the breach, and hopefully we will reach many farmers on the cheap. But the benefits that we reap will compensate for the cost, and once again, nothing lost. With climate change, there's water stress. For our factories, this is a mess. By providing a local watershed, we can stay one step ahead. It's a solution that's heaven sent, as we can both adapt and prevent. There are many paths that we can see for achieving carbon neutrality, but the cheapest way is certainly through energy efficiency. Real interest rates are rather low, and high returns quickly flow from any energy-saving device. For business, this is very nice. Not only are returns quite brisk, there's also very little risk. In India, mandated CSR can help us go very far. Multiple benefits are what one sees with water projects or growing trees. Good livelihoods are created, our carbon emissions are abated, trees planted at a river source maintain the flow throughout its course. So many benefits we can see. The preservation of biodiversity, different species can be tried, useful products can be supplied, like biomass or edible fruits, and yet the trunk and the roots can sequester carbon, clean the air, a win-win that is very fair. So while we decarbonize, why not also monetize? So never fall for either or. Our hearts and minds demand much more. Neutrality can come with ease. Some may think I'm a tease. Some companies are not yet sold. For some it's tough, or so I'm told. Energy-intensive firms would say it's much tougher for them to play. If you can turn all waste to gold, and if you can be very bold with inventing technology, any industry can see eventual neutrality. And there is so much more to gain. if it's across our entire chain. Now, couldn't it help to stir our hearts and minds to newer heights with ESG now in our sights? The vision we should now share is a brave new world, both green and fair. The environment isn't all. On society, let's take a call. Throughout the chain, let's keep in sight every person's human right. It's business as usual, not bravery, to end child labor and slavery. And in all businesses, we should see the broadest reach of diversity. Not only is it fair and right, it would give us the best insight. Since life is full of many hard knocks, we need to think out of the box. Diversity is the perfect aid when we are required to wade through troubled waters or quagmires. Unusual thought is what inspires. Lack of health and education leads to the perpetuation of inequality through generations in almost all our nations. Without good health, you never learn. If you don't learn, you cannot earn. For health as well as climate change, it certainly isn't strange that prevention's better than a cure. On public health we should spend, it is much cheaper in the end. With little cost and greatest ease, we could reduce lifestyle disease. At any rate, I am quite sure we would spend less than for a cure. In order to achieve this goal, businesses should play a role. Through business models and CSR, together we can go quite far, and similarly, through education, we can serve ourselves and the nation. We often think that charity can address disparity, but tackling health and education are better means for alleviation. Using AI for education and health will create meaningful wealth. If we work together to fix it, India will be truly Wixit. Let us strive to create a heaven of joy and prosperity by 2047. Through action and advocacy, we can help all humanity to create a world that's just and fair, and everyone is free to share nature's bounty and be fulfilled. And then I'm sure we'd all be thrilled. You must persist and never balk, consistently walk the talk. If your governance is strong, the payback won't be very long. Always keep these facts in sight. Don't hesitate to do what's right. The strategy is tried and tested. In the long haul, it can't be bested. Now, ESG will take you far. Don't just be a shooting star, rising high before you fall. Instead, take the enduring call. All of us can forge ahead if we only learn to shed the barriers that can divide, and if cooperation stride. With the help of business, I foresee a helpful, thriving society. It should be clearly understood that sustainable business is very good for stakeholders as well as society. There is no contradiction that we see. Let us all proclaim this aloud and make Ratan Tata very proud. Thank you.
Today's lecture was truly one of the most unique experiences for all of us. It was delightful to hear such critical ideas expressed in such a simple and artistic manner. From describing Ratan Tata's legacy to the economic turn of events in India, and then to the pressing need of AI and climate change. You kept us engaged through your powerful storytelling throughout, sir. And the applause today speaks volumes about both the enthusiasm of the audience and the significance of what we are celebrating today. May I now invite the chairperson, Mr. Ramadorai, to share his remarks with the gathering.
Morning, everyone. Dr. Nadir Godrej, Professor Naran Tiwari, Honorary Vice Chancellor it is, Rati Godrej, Dr. Narendra Mishra, Professor Mullah, Shireen, Mala. I think hearing Nadir, I want to thank you for the thought-provoking lecture, which is always what we expect from you. And more important point is you delivered it in your characteristic style. Your ability to weave profound ideas into your poetry truly makes a case not just for the mind but for the heart as well. Thank you so much. I think what you covered in such a short time, the entire history of the Tata Group, what Ratan Tata stood for, and what the Godrej stands for, I think it's a remarkable communication, how business contributes to the society at large. The moment the founders, the people who follow them, and every one of us follow that kind of a mindset, it's no longer a behavioral issue, it's automatically a culture which propagates, and that's what the Tata Group is for. All of us have grown up with this institution and seen how people are aligned to this kind of a vision, and things like ESG, things like good health, good nutrition, good climate, good technology absorption and application are a natural way of doing things instead of somebody telling us to do by way of a matrix or by way of a dashboard. I think I'm so happy to be in the campus. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Naran Tiwari, thank you for inviting me, and more importantly for instituting the memorial lecture in memory of Shri Ratan Tata. Thank you so much on behalf of all. I think I don't have to dwell too much on the theme because everyone heard Nadir. And when we look at these groups, across generations demonstrated that profit and purpose are essentially not opposing forces. My boss Kohli used to say, if you don't make a profit, you can't spend on CSR. And if you don't spend on CSR, you can't get good people. So it's completely a circular economy at work. So we had to always look at them together rather than in isolation or a standalone thing. I think I came back from the US in early 70s and joined the group through Tata Consultancy services, but never looked back to say that why I came back or so many offers, why don't you change my job because somebody is doubling your salary or tripling your salary or whatever it is. The purpose of existence and purpose of what you do and align was more important than anything else. And we as young professionals saw an enormous amount of opportunities, and that is more enhanced these days. I think organizations, how they create long-term value, not only in attracting good and retaining the talent, but also commitment to society and nation building that goes beyond balance sheets. I think I had the opportunity to work with Ratan for nearly 4 decades. Very few people have that kind of an opportunity. To see him at close quarters and never a relationship of a boss with an employee or a colleague, and we were all treated as equal colleagues, where ideas are the only things that mattered and it's not hierarchy that mattered. So that's what we are striving in the government also, with this mission Karmayogi, how to turn ideas into action and accountability to the citizens rather than accountability to your bosses. It's a behavioral change that is happening. And when he became the group chairman in 1991, one of the biggest 2 or 3 examples I just want to quote, anything we took to him, his decision making was so quick, where he could absorb very complex ideas in a very short time. And yes, questions or a no-go decision came out, but all of us were extremely well prepared and understood him so well. It was very easy to communicate your ideas and what was expected at the end of the day. But the more important question was always, is it going to build a society where equal opportunities are given? Are we going to be very inclusive and big people from any of the parts of the country and serve for common good and the community at the center of everything in addition to the corporate messaging? I'm talking about the early 80s or towards the 85, 86, when we took him a proposal to build a very large supercomputer which has never been tried in this country in a private sector. And he immediately endorsed it, and we did it. Lo and behold, it was the 4th fastest supercomputer in the world. And we didn't think about how much it's going to cost. We didn't think about, can we do it? We said we have to do it, and we have to do it to build capabilities in this country, which got applied in the space, in atomic energy, and so many other spheres. I think we did our IPO in 2004, and we went on different parts of the world to propagate the message of TCS, what it stood for and how we are built and how we are inclusive and how gender sensitivity is as important as anything else. I think meeting those employees in Latin America was the trip which we undertook. And then seeing Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, Uruguay, I think the message that came out from him was always, are the people happy? Are they serving the community? Are we doing exactly the value systems which we talk about? And that's what impressed him to say that, yes, we can go ahead with the IPO, can go ahead with the inclusivity, and more importantly, what the group stood for, that kind of a culture propagated right through. I think whether it was the defense sector, it was the IT sector, it was the automotive or the airline, the passion that he demonstrated and covered and connected some of these things was a very learning experience for each and every one of us. I think only I wish he was alive today. The artificial intelligence is a transformative technology that's going to touch every aspect of business, society, and individual lives. Businesses, governments, academia, and civil society organizations are looking to leverage AI as a companion to solve complex challenges, whether it's the social sector or the business sector, does not matter. I think it also carries certain inherent risks, be it algorithmic bias, privacy issues, concentration of power, and potential of misuse. So the guardrails are extremely important, and that's what was discussed at the AI Summit in the last couple of days in Delhi. There's a great level of optimism in our country on AI. We want to lead the AI development and use case deployment to solve some of the very complex challenges and meet our development aspirations, be it sustainable development goals or the aspiration to become a developed nation by 2047, which Nadir also touched upon, and the way AI is going to help us in thinking through this, and it should not be seen as a loss of job, but it's recreation and reinvention of newer jobs. I think as the businesses do their responsibility well, they adopt and deploy these technologies, I think they must include social scientists, grassroots professionals, and community voices in the design and deployment processes, and that's where this comes in very, very effectively. The interdisciplinary thinking, deep social understanding, and commitment to equity and justice from our institution which it embodies becomes absolutely essential. Same thing we are trying to do in the transformation of the civil services of the country through the mission Karmayogi Bharat and the Capacity Building Commission. I think I see even on this a tremendous synergy with this and the multiplier effect it can have on governance and public service delivery, which is the most critical thing. The Institute must participate in this nation-building effort, and one way could be to develop specialized courses and micro-credentials for civil servants across all levels. AI will break the barriers of language and geography and will allow us to amplify the voice of the Institute and experience of our faculty members in developmental studies, in social work, in understanding marginalized communities, in policy understanding and framing. This knowledge would be absolutely invaluable to the nation. So I would encourage this to participate in this journey. As we all remember Mr. Ratan Tata today, someone who deeply understood and valued social sciences education and its relevance to the society and nation. I truly believe he would be immensely proud to see TIS continuing to play such a vital role in the academic landscape, in shaping thought and action around inclusive development under our Vice Chancellor, Professor Godrej Industries leadership. As TIS completes 90 years, this milestone reflects the institution's firm commitment to its founding mission, that is to create professionals who work for the most vulnerable, to generate knowledge that informs policy, to be a conscience keeper for development that truly serves people and the planet. Continuing to strengthen and expand this work will be the true tribute to Ratan and his legacy. I wish the team at TCS all the very best. I would like to thank Nadir once again for sharing his thoughts, reflections with us today. I think we'll now open the floor for question and answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramadorai, for such an interesting perspective. Your unique insight, having worked with Mr. Ratan Tata so closely, has really enriched our understanding of him. The idea that true long-term value lies at the confluence of value for individuals, organizations, corporates, societies, communities, and the nation is indeed inspiring. And your endeavor to look at AI as an opportunity to be leveraged for development and use it as a multiplier force is indeed encouraging. Thank you for those amazing words. Thank you.
We now open the floor for questions. A few instructions to kindly keep in mind. Keep the questions brief and relevant to today's discussion so that we may accommodate as many questions as possible. Participants are kindly requested to raise their hands and introduce themselves by stating their name before asking their question. We are open to questions now. Can we please?
Hello, sir. Can I? Yeah. My name is Vinay. So my question to Godrej sir. Sir, it was an inspiring speech. In fact, what I get to understand is that innovation is something which actually contributes to society, and what's driving innovation is the digitization and artificial intelligence. So my question is that you mentioned that AI is making strides, but it should not end up in suicides. So as a big my two questions. One is, as a big corporate, what's the message that AI doesn't go out of control and it actually helps the society for a better society as we move forward? Second, you also mentioned that AI is climate change. Abrupt climate change is something which is harming the society. As an AI, how can, as a big expert, company, corporate, how can actually AI help in addressing this challenge? These are the two questions. Thank you, sir.
Right. Very good questions. And the problem sometimes with AI is that we don't know exactly what is happening. So we need to try and keep a good track on AI. We need to have human supervision to, as Ramadorai also mentioned, privacy is an issue. When AI is used in social media, mental health becomes an issue. These are not easy problems to tackle, but we have to tackle them. And I am not an expert on AI, but I urge everyone to think about how we should be solving these problems. About climate change, since AI can help us to solve problems, AI can probably help us find technical solutions that will help us prevent climate change. Like AI can help us have better nuclear energy, AI can help us have better green energy, whether it is solar, wind, or even biomass. AI currently uses a lot of energy. Now, it's actually aggravating the problem. If the solutions, don't save more energy than the AI uses to provide the solution, we are in trouble. But AI experts feel that AI should be getting much better. The current AI just seems to be crunching a lot of data to find answers. Surely we can have more intelligent AI that does it in a much simpler way using less energy. And I think we should focus on doing that. And I hope we are not investing too much on energy intensive data centers, and shouldn't we be investing more on energy efficient AI instead? Right, thank you. I hope I answered your question.
My name is Amita. Mr. Godrej, here, right in front of you. Okay, so thanks first of all for extremely interesting ideas and presented in an even more interesting fashion. Okay? My question is actually based on a reflection. I think you spoke about how liberalization, post-liberalization, we seem to be on a path of prosperity, right? I also see liberalization as a pathway where industry has become, business has become much more global. Its footprints have become global. And in this, when the footprints become global, the welfare of the nation and the boundary that we are talking about, the commitment of the business to the, what should I say, the roots of that business, do they get diluted in some ways? How does one bring Indian business back to invest also in the good of Indian society per se? Do you see any prospects of that? One sees this, for example, in China very clearly. China becomes global, but on the other hand, there is a very clear anchoring within the country, and therefore the fruits of labor, the enhancement of the local prosperity is very much there. How can we ensure this in India? Thank you.
Yes, Indian industry has gone fairly global, and the Tatas are a good example of that, and the Birla Group is also fairly global. But I think these businesses are still very focused on India, and a lot of their social work is done in India. Though all global businesses, I would argue, have an obligation to work in all the countries they operate in. After all, it's one humanity, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And we should always bear that in mind and not discriminate. But it's a good point. We should focus on solving India's problems. India is a poorer country than most. India has more inequality than most. And India has pressing public health problems and lack of the right type of education. And with AI progressing, do we need a drastic change in our education system? AI can do a lot of the thinking for us. So obviously our education will have to put more focus on values and on imagination than merely problem solving, which in many cases we can allow AI to do. And maybe our education focuses also should be on how to prevent the harm of AI, because only humans can prevent the harm. We cannot trust AI to prevent the harm.
Yes. So in the third row.
Yes, you.
Yeah,
Please go
yeah,
ahead.
thank you so much.
Nowadays, what I'm seeing that because of availability of digital devices at home, even low-income group families are having very good ideas, evolvers of all age group. Recently in AI Summit at Delhi, a 7-year-old child, he gave very good ideas and he got many awards. So what can be done to cope up with such idea generators? Because all are not having very good fund, but they can be very important for AI development.
Yeah. So I think we should encourage all people, and they should all be open to get support from us, or whatever support they need. If a young person wants to become an entrepreneur, we should support him, and he should have access to tools. Young people are more and more precocious every day, and we should encourage them, but we should also make sure that they have a happy childhood and are not too precocious.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. I'm Bal Rakshasev. I'm Campus Director, Tulzapur, TIS Tulzapur. First of all, let me say that we are so surprised by that lecture can be delivered through the epic and a big poem. Sir, people are so they respect the families of, they go with the ethics. My question is that nowadays that what will be your suggestion or your advice to young entrepreneurs and industrialists that how the ethics and the profits can go together?
Yes. So, very good question. As to the first part of the question about epics, epics were written before the invention of writing. So they had to be written in verse because otherwise nobody would remember them.
Mr.
But with the invention of writing, the necessity of poetry has gone. Nobody needed poetry. Now they could write things down. But the love of poetry still continued. So why can't we continue to write epics in poetry? As far as, remind me about the second question.
I was asking about that, how would you advise the young entrepreneurs and industrialists that how ethics and profits can go together?
Young entrepreneurs are very competitive and try to grow very fast. There was even a trend to focus on revenue rather than profits, just because they could raise a lot of funds in the market, and often in their urge for speed and they need to focus on speed, they forget about other things. And we should encourage them to follow ethics, because ethics help you in the long run. They're a little bit of a cost in the short run. So if you're very focused on the short run, you may forget about ethics. And we should persuade them that focusing on ethics is the best solution for the long run. There was once a very interesting game theory problem about a shopkeeper. And it quickly turned out that the best short-term strategy for a shopkeeper was to cheat a stranger, but be very ethical with a long-term customer.
Ma'am, in the sari at the back, please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Dr. Swati Rane, alum of TISS. I've done my master's in hospital administration and my PhD from School of Health Systems here. And I'm a visiting faculty for gerontology here. I'm a nurse entrepreneur, so my question is to Sir Ramadorai. India has about 1.9 nurses per 1,000 population, which is below WHO standards, which is recommended as 3 per 1,000. Nearly 65% of our population still lives in rural India, where the access to healthcare is very limited. In some places, it is unfortunate that we don't have any system, even in Palghar district, like in Thane. Nurses are the backbone of the primary and community care, yet they have limited opportunities for leaderships and enterprise or entrepreneurship. In this context, how can Mission Karmayogi enable nurses to transition from frontline caregivers to healthcare entrepreneurs, system leaders, leaders in task forces, particularly in strengthening the primary and community healthcare delivery, and how TISs can help the nursing profession here? Thank you.
I thought the questions were only to Nadir, but doesn't matter. I think the Mission Karmayogi, we started about 5 years ago. It's a completely digital environment where we have created a digital platform. Today, 1.4 million civil servants are enrolled in it, across from the top to the bottom. Second is we have got about 4,000 courses that are there. Whether it's in health, whether it's in forestry, whether it's in finance, whether it is in manufacturing, every form of course content is very much there. That's the reason I said that Tata Institute of Social Sciences has the biggest opportunity to contribute any of the curriculum courses in this space. The best experts which you have can put together some very creative ideas and then put it through a proper scrutiny into the platform itself. Civil servants are being told that it's going from a rule-based to a role-based environment, but the role for every function, every job in the civil services is going to be based on competencies. And the competencies are the ones which are automatically through an AI engine and AI agents. We are trying to see how best to do that very quickly, including building some of these courses and the content. Public health is an extremely important area. And I think Nadir also said about good health, good nutrition, good behavior, good ethics are all absolutely critical, and that's what we want to make sure that this platform offers. So TIS has a golden opportunity with whatever creative ideas you may have, whatever course content we may have, or even podcasts and talks which we are populating within that itself. If we have some experts, we can immediately set up a meeting, and we have got multiple studios across, and then you can come and record. Only thing is, we want to make sure that these are easy, small modules, so that a concatenation of these becomes the single competency that can be achieved. So it's a journey, but I think we are having participants from Indian academic institutions, Indian entrepreneurs, international institutions, international academic institutions, and funding is not the issue, it's just the content which we need, and extremely good content, which we will make sure that it is populated if we have. Thank you.
Can I request a mic to the person at the back over there?
Yeah. I'll just add one quick comment to that question. As we have simpler diagnostic devices which can be deployed in the field, and as we have AI-based diagnostics and telemedicine opportunities, I foresee that whoever is the primary caregiver, even if it's not a doctor, they can easily access good advice and provide good services to people.
That's an excellent point, because today AI agents can sit along with a practitioner, and then the ASHA workers can communicate with that from the primary health itself. We are training the ASHA workers as well. Thank you.
We'll have a question from the front row, and then we'll come to you.
My name is Nadir B. I've been with the Tata Group all my life. I have a comment, only a question and a comment. Why isn't the Indian value of education, our colleges and universities, why aren't they up to, this? Why aren't they like Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard or any of these places? After all, Indians go there. When I was at Cambridge, we had people like Manmohan Singh and all of that as students. What is wrong with Indian why can't we have a system of education which is on par with the best?
There are efforts to further improve education in India. Like new universities are being formed. One thing is that we focused a lot on IITs and IIMs and not so much on general education. We believed in channelizing people and not giving them a broad education. With the advent of AI, I think a broad education is even more important. And you're right that at least in America where I studied, I know in England you do have a little bit of specialization where you do only 3 courses and so on. But in America, there's a lot of generalization. When I was at MIT, I was studying engineering, but I had 1 humanities requirement every quarter. And I think this broad education is very important. This broad education is lacking in India, but I think it's coming to India. The new universities are focusing on it, and we need to focus even more on it. And it's not just the job of the educational institute. Each of us should be very interested in learning. And there's, C.P. Snow talked about the great divide between the humanities and the sciences. Sometimes scientists are more interested in the other side because they can easily access it through the theater or the cinema or concerts. And people who specialize in humanities often have very little knowledge about science, and I think it's equally important for them to know about science. And one way I think for people in humanities to know more about science, and maybe TIS can do something about it, is to have a course in the history of science. Because the history of science is fascinating to non-scientists, and the history of science is based on the scientific method. Because what is the history of science? It shows how people develop the scientific method. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know the details. That you can ask AI.
Yes, sir, at the back. Go ahead. Yes, you had a question then.
Hello.
Hello. Very good afternoon, sir. My name is Anand Patel. Sir, to your left. Yes. My name is Anand Patel. I am the second year student of Labor Studies and Practice. First of all, thank you, sir, for a wonderful speech. It was powerful and poetic speech. And sir, my question to you is, Sir, Ratan Tata often took long-term decisions that prioritized national interest over short-term profit. Is such leadership still possible in today's shareholder-driven ecosystem where there are global partners? In a world where AI is replacing white and blue-collar workers, in a country where post-LPG there are reforms and policies that have been shifted their focus from workers' welfare to the ease of doing business. Yes, sir, that is my question.
It's a good question. Stock markets often emphasize short-term returns, and that influences people. If people's rewards are based on short-term performance, it's very likely that they start thinking short-term. In India, you have promoter groups who have large shareholdings and are not as much worried about quarterly price changes, and it's easier for them to take the longer term outlook. But I think one thing any business can do is when they give an earnings report or talk to the markets, describe how they're focusing on the long term, what are the benefits for the shareholder by focusing on the long term, and that's one way out of this. It becomes difficult, but I don't think it's impossible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Namaste. So it was a pleasure hearing to your poetry, epic, call it whatever. I thought you will stop at, describing Dr. Ratan Tata ji, and your poem will stop there, and then you will give a lecture. But the way you went on and linking the entire concept of business with social responsibility in this poem form. One is how much time you took to write it. And it's a very, very innovative way to drive your message home. We are all here mighty impressed with that. Now, I have two questions here. One for you and one for Shri Ramadorai ji. For you, I want to know is that by making CSR mandatory, have we done a service to the cause or have we diluted it? One. Second is that when we talk of AI today, have we built any algorithm which are having Indian knowledge base or we are drawing only from the Western paradigms? How is it going to help the cause of Bharat when we talk of creating a new knowledge system and a new society and a thinking which we should link to our ancient civilization, our values, the question which he very rightly asked. Take the example of social work. I begin with that because I've been a professor of social work. Today I'm on the Academic Council of Tata also. And we are working for the Indianization of social work model that we have in Bharat. You know that in Bharat we have a very old tradition of doing daan and all of that, where the business houses have contributed a lot. But we have a model which we have imported from the West, and 80 years down the line, we continue with the same model. So when are we going to Indianize our knowledge systems and stop looking at the West for any new idea, any innovation? We are rich, so rich a culture that we have our Vedic sciences here, which is Vedas, our scriptures, plus a science which has been proved. And it has also been proved that most of the psychology, sociology, everything in the West has actually drawn from our Vedic sciences. If they can do it, they are very good in documenting and preparing frameworks, which we are not. So when are we going to go in that direction, not at the institutional level, but at the national level?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. For the first question of whether compulsory CSR is good or not good. Obviously, if you come from the motivation that you should be CSR, it's part of your duty, you have to do daan, then having a fixed amount might constrain you to that amount. But at least you're going to do that. For those who are not doing anything, I think the compulsory CSR is good. I also mentioned Michael Porter's idea of shared value. If you are getting shared value, it is in your interest to spend even more on CSR because you're also getting a benefit from that. But you're right to some extent that if you say you have to spend 2%, many people may stick to spending 2%. But I would urge everyone to think that look at all kinds of benefits that the business gets from CSR and decide how much you want to spend on CSR. Some of the CSR may actually improve your profits. So why wouldn't you spend on that? As to the other question, I would tend to think that science and knowledge is universal. And we should look at all streams of thought. Also, there is a lot of traditional knowledge that is good, but not necessarily validated. But that doesn't mean that we can't today validate it. And we should do that. We should not ignore sciences that have not become popular. Certainly we should study them. But it's important that everything should be validated. We can't just say that because somebody wrote about it 2,000 years ago, it must be true. No, yeah, I'm sure you agree with that as well. So yes, but why can't we draw on it? While we were doing research, we were working with neem oil, and we were using neem oil to make soap, and we wanted to remove all the smelly chemicals out of neem oil. We discovered that there were about 1,000 chemicals there. and many of them had many different uses. Some of them must have been clearly mentioned in Ayurveda. But here with modern science, we could validate what those chemicals were, how we could use them, etc. So all I'm saying is draw on all sources of knowledge, but make sure that you validate. As far as the AI question, I'll leave it to you.
No, I think what Nadir said with regard to knowledge is universal, and we must scan the whole universe before we incorporate anything and validate it. Having said that, next door to you at IIT Bombay, there is a company or an initiative, Section 8 company called Bharat. It's a combination of multiple IITs, including the scientific laboratories, Ministry of Information Technology. Both the small language models as well as the large language models are completely Indian and for the global dissemination. There's another thing we have to be conscious, whether it's manufactured in India, made in India, it must be for the world, which is absolutely critical. Similarly, there is an initiative called Bhashini, which is 22 languages of India are being done with regard to automatic translation, SLM course content, which we have also incorporated in Mission Karmayogi Bharat. You must have read in the papers with regard to the language models, which are completely Indian in nature, from Sarvam, which is today everywhere all over the place. I think we look around the kind of activities that are happening, the level of heightened activity that is happening for real problems to be solved, whether they're social or corporate. Deep research and deep science in some of these areas and validation is happening as we speak. I think you just need to get connected to that, or if you have a AI tool which any of these guys are offering, if you don't want to use an imported one, whether it is Claude or whether it is OpenAI or whatever, I think we are on that journey, and this is the opportunity for all of us to be together. And I think we look around these and then see how best to incorporate. And Indian knowledge systems itself, there are a lot of, IIT Kanpur is working on Indian knowledge systems. The government of India is working on that. Some of the other individual entrepreneurs which we know are working on that very actively. So, but validation is the point which he made, that yes, scientifically validate it and make sure it is relevant and it is relevant for the future.
Thank you. I would like to request the audience members to keep the questions brief so that we can accommodate as many questions as possible. Sir, you, and then we'll have...
Namaskar, sir. It was wonderful hearing you. I'm Sanjay Pradhan. I am alumni of TIS. I work with NGOs, government and corporates, and now I become an entrepreneur. So as Ratan Tata ji, he has taken India to a global level, you know, good, bad, ugly, but at least he dared to take things globally. In a country of around 1.4 billion population, and the way globally the geopolitics and things are happening, other countries are trying to dictate, you know, in that context, how TIS like institute or Indian industries can go globally rather than being followed what Ramadorai sir, as he said, coming in a ESG box or a dashboard. How Indian industries and institute like TIS or other institute can take a global lead, and, you know, alumni of, you know, so those people are all over, they can contribute to that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a difficult question to answer. If you keep doing your best in all the subjects, I'm sure you will have a global lead, and try and focus on the world and not just on India, because as you said, more and more Indian businesses are going global. Many of your students may be working outside of India as well, and the social sciences are very important. Sociology, economics, psychology are all very important for progress, and I'm sure that this can try and be a trendsetter in all of these and help India be significant on the global map.
One thing I just wanted to add to that.
Hello.
Today, you have to accept the fact that education means it's not just one institution. I can take a course from TISS because it makes sense to me. I can take a course from MIT or Harvard or Stanford or from an IIT. And universities are willing to give you a degree and the necessary credentials so that it's a completely an open environment. It's not one university, one place, one degree. No, that has changed completely. Students are saying that, I know where to learn this particular primer on AI. Why would I go to a TISS? I would rather go to somebody else. So I think these are the changes that are happening, and changes which are much faster than any of us can imagine. So the creativity and how you put together a curriculum for yourself in a specialization or in a general purpose is your choice and not the choice of an institution.
Hello. Hello, sir. My name is Prasad. I'm from Project Management Cell. We must Indian all thankful to the two entities. First is Indian Army and second is the Godrej for keeping us safe because of the Godrej locks. So my question is how the big corporates or the big companies can contribute to the unemployment or the underemployment. Now the earlier before the 6 months, AI was the opportunity. Now it is become a threat because to develop a AI or algorithm, we don't require a human being. Even AI can build a AI. So my question is on the unemployment and the underemployment. No one talks about the underemployment. So how the big corporates or the big companies can address these issues?
One way of answering the question is that in all past technological revolutions, there was immediate fear of disruption of jobs. But ultimately, the economy grew so fast that new jobs were created. The Luddites wanted to break the first textile equipment when it came, thinking that they could preserve their jobs by destroying the machines. But ultimately, because of machines, people could consume much more, and therefore other kinds of jobs were created. But as you point out, AI may be different because it may not require any human intervention at all. That is one possible theory of the impact of AI. How we will tackle that will be very difficult if it really happens that way. But remember, if it is so productive, wealth will grow tremendously. The question then will be, how do we distribute the wealth? It may get focused in a few hands, as you can see is already happening with the owners of AI companies or AI enablers like NVIDIA and Elon Musk, and all have huge proportion of the world's wealth. It's already happening. So one solution is to have a political system that enables us to distribute that wealth. Another solution is to have shorter work weeks. Some jobs will always be there, hopefully, yeah. And it is a difficult question. Hopefully we will be as successful as we were in the other technological revolutions, but we must accept that AI is in some ways different. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think the imagination is the only way to focus on these. I think these big corporations, small corporations is not the measure of anything. It's not the responsibility of a corporation to create the jobs for the country. A single entrepreneur may create 20 jobs, 30 jobs, 50 jobs, whatever it is, in the rural setting or in his own hometown. That's the kind of opportunity we are seeing. How do you coach people or enable people to think very different from the previous models where there was a corporation, it created jobs and it created a lifetime job and with the pension, etc. Those models are gone. You've got to reinvent yourself as much as the institution has to reinvent. That's the world we are in, and AI is a great enabler for that.
Before we move on to the next question, I request the participants to please keep their questions brief. And while we appreciate your enthusiasm, please wait for the host to acknowledge you. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Hello once again. I think everybody is wanting to have a bio break, so I will keep it very short, but I wanted to say something that we mentioned ESG again and again. There is one thing I find that we don't talk enough about, which is actually the root cause of all the pollution, is thought pollution. We literally have thought pollution behind every kind of pollution, because there's greed, there's jealousy, there's competition. So that's the reason why people will pollute. Why will somebody throw waste in a river just because it is going to make them gain something in short term? So I find that younger people don't want to work odd hours, long hours, night hours. They are looking to do entrepreneurial work rather than have a boss. 76% of the young generation, everybody's talking about the Gen Z at work who don't want to stay long hours, don't want to take orders from the boss. I find that there is character development more in terms of education rather than just academic. So my thought on individual self-regulation, emotional regulation, is what our schools or our educational institute should include, where individual, there's a human behind every machine, even in AI, actually, because the rules will be set by those individuals, by individual or companies. So my thought to you is, or to say to everybody else, that education is everywhere, not just in institutes. It's from home, it's from your value system, and that's where I'm keeping it short, that how can we focus more on meditation, regulation, by way of institutionalizing it.
Ma'am, is there a question? That
Yeah, so that's the question, that how are we focusing enough on character building? Thought pollution.
The answer is probably not, and the answer is also we should be, because as we said, that knowledge is becoming less and less important, so developing imagination, developing character will be the main purpose of education. And of course, that's not what educational institutions are used to doing, so it is going to be a challenge for them, but they need to take it on.
So the only thing I disagree with you is young people don't want to work is absolutely wrong. Young people want to work more than everybody else.
We'd like, yes, ma'am in pink sari.
Sir, I'm waiting for last 15 minutes. Hello, sir.
Hello.
I have a very brief question. You spoke about CSR, and if we look at the government data for last 4 years, the distribution of the CSR fund, 80% CSR fund goes to PM Cares, and then within the 20%, major fund goes for education and health, and only 0.2% goes to the innovation. And that too majorly go to the technological innovation. So now, as a social science institute, on behalf of the institute, I have a question that how do we can, invest CSR fund for the process innovation and the business model innovation, and how, and we also don't know that how much share of the PM Cares goes for such purpose. So what is your thought about it?
Yes, this is a good, yes, I'm not fully familiar with the CSR rules on innovation. I know that a certain amount, that donations for innovation are allowed, and some of it is happening for technological innovation, but I really don't know what the rules are. But of course, if it is permitted, it would be a very good idea for more funds to go for innovation. But in CSR, it's always important to show that there is some social benefit. CSR requires that. So if that can be shown, it's a good idea to publicize this to more businesses, because I don't think any businesses are doing it, and it might be an interesting idea.
Oh, yes, the ma'am in pink sari, please go ahead.
Hi. Hello, sir. I'm Ekta, and I think you're the right person to answer my question. When ma'am here pointed out about character building, and I think the entire development of AI and economical development and scientific development and pollutions and everything comes down to being mindful of everyone and environment around them, right? And that happens when you're raised to be a conscious person, right? And that again comes down to mothers. So my question here is for you, because I think you are you're at a helm of a very huge corporate, and this question goes beyond ink and paper and putting down policies and maternity leaves and creche facilities. So my question is, what structural changes do you believe workplaces must implement to be more mindful of mothers, so they don't have to choose between being ambitious professionals while being meaningfully present for their children? And this goes beyond maternity leave and work hours and everything.
Yes. So in our business, we try to do that. We have a DEI lab which looks at many of these issues. And one answer obviously is that fathers could do more parenting. And the alternative answer is that mothers should have special privileges in the workplace.
That I absolutely agree with you. Thank you.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good
Please go
afternoon, sir. Yeah.
ahead. Sir, please go ahead. Yeah.
You go ahead.
Yes, yes.
My question is to Dr. Godrej. It was a pleasure listening to you. Myself, Shaumitro. I'm from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I'm a teacher. And I'm quite jealous of you because it was amazing to see the way you can put together the words, basically. So as a teacher, of course, I'm jealous. I wish I have the same capability. The other thing that I wanted to understand from you, because in response to a question from the audience, you mentioned that we would also soon have best universities or universities which are on par with Harvard or Cambridge, world-class universities. Many new universities are being set up. My observation here is that now what we are having basically, we have different education systems and different health systems for different population groups. Going ahead, basically, since we have the aspirations to become a developed nation, of course, we should be moving towards that. I don't know when it will happen, but of course we should be aspiring for that. How do you look at these developments, basically? Yeah.
Yes, so I see new universities coming up. And I myself have been involved with a university that CII is set up called Nayanta University. And several members of CII have got together to develop this university. We are trying to make this university a very broad-based university where children of all kinds of backgrounds it would be accessible for them to go to this university. And I think there are many other such efforts going on in India that will bring these universities, and as the world changes, we will need this broad education where character building, imagination building is as important as skill development.
All right. So we have taken a lot of questions from this block, so I think we would take a few questions from there. Yes, sir in black, please go ahead.
Hello. I'm Devang, first year student of MHRM at LR program. My question is to you, Nadir sir. You have noted that business could easily solve the climate problem if there was a level playing field, like uniform carbon tax, or you had talked about the cap and trade system. But right now, when a company chooses to go green, they often face higher costs than their competitors. So how can we align different stakeholders like government, consumers, and even the industry to push for this level playing reforms?
Right.
Could you please add more on this?
No, it's clear that some kind of carbon price of $50 to $60 per ton of carbon would solve the problem very fast. But it would have to be a globally equal price, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to export. There are one or two other systems, like Europe is trying out CBAM. So they won't let you export to them unless you cut your carbon emissions. Now, how can that be done fairly across the world? Should all countries have some system like that? It would be much simpler to have a universal carbon tax collected by individual states, but at the same rate. And then you could cut some other tax, and then we'd solve the problem in a jiffy. But with certain governments like United States claiming that climate crisis is a hoax, it's impossible to get such a uniform level playing field. But there's lots that we can do, and as technology develops, that cost may come down lower than $60. So the only hope now is that we try some sort of system. Even in India, perhaps on our own, we can do something if we put some emission standards and then permit some carbon trading. There, a lot of improvement could come. But of course, we may get affected in exports if it's not a globally universal system. But something we must do, because the cost of adaptation is definitely higher than the cost of prevention.
Yes, all right. We'll be going ahead with the last 3 questions. That person has been waiting for a while. Yes, sir in yellow, please go ahead.
Hello. Good morning, sir. I'm Dr. Ram Setu. I'm currently pursuing social work public health. My question is regarding social stock exchange. Like, how do big corporates can be a game changer in social stock exchange? Because in normal stock exchange, there are more than 10 to 11% of Indian population has demat accounts. When it comes to social stock exchange, which has social impact, it's very 0.01% of normal stocks. So what I thought is big corporates, when they get into here, they have this resource they have on their own, but still the fund generated to this can be channelized effectively, I felt. Is there any role or a game-changing part which big corporates like Godrej, Tata or Birla can contribute?
It's a good thought. I haven't thought about it. And I know a social stock exchange has been set up in India, and some of the NGOs of which I'm on the board have thought of raising funds there, but they haven't actually done so yet. So I don't know very much about it, but it's a good idea to see how we can invest more in it and how it can benefit NGOs more.
Yes, ma'am. You have been waiting for a while. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir, I'm on the right side of your sitting arrangement over here. Yeah, I can come this side. Yeah. So, sir, my question is that we want to achieve quality education, and we are increasingly faced with a very simple yet very difficult problem, which is the problem of para-teachers in our country and contractualization of teaching profession at school level and also at university level. So how should we approach this problem, and is there a role for CSR to play in it?
What exactly are you referring to?
Para-teaching, which means that teachers are not...
tuitions and things like that?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Contractualization of teaching profession.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I guess the advantage is that you get much more attention because they are small groups with one teacher, but I don't like the idea very much at all, and a lot of what they do could easily be done by students themselves. So is there a way that the recognized institutions find ways of children learning better, or even the college students learning better on their own without resource to this? And now there are many online courses, and teachers could recommend books to people to read instead of going to these kinds of classes, or do projects. I would think that that is the solution to get out of this.
Yes, we'll be going ahead with the last question. Yes, sir in pink.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, here.
Yes,
sir, in front of you.
Sorry.
So, I am Chandrasekhar Jogulekar. I am a faculty here with Center for Regulatory Policy and Governance. In your poetic speech, 2 words noticed my attention, apart from many other things, of course. One was externalities and other was regulation. So, with technological development, with AI and every other technology that will come in future also, there are technological benefits also and there are risks associated with technology also. Now, in the course of development of India, India has gone through various technological introductions. My question is related with, while we are adopting new technologies, in your opinion, are we doing good enough to put in a system in place to govern the risk associated with technologies? AI is a looming threat in some sense, but it also presents some opportunities. But at the same time, there are a lot of technologies, including pesticides. I know that Godrej runs a business in agrochemicals. So we lack a robust regulatory system with many old technologies or technological interventions. Why we lack there, and can we afford to do in the business as usual while new technologies are coming? How do we strengthen our regulatory system, and how particularly businesses can contribute to that?
Right. The challenge comes because on the one hand, as you point out, regulation is essential. On the other hand, over-regulation causes lots of problems. Business can't proceed when there is over-regulation. And it's very difficult to strike the right balance. Now, even if you look at AI, you will see people say AI must be regulated. Then others say that if you regulate AI, it won't develop. So I'm pretty confident that the right balance can be reached. But it's not easy to reach because these are these two competing forces fighting each other. As academics, maybe you have some suggestions.
Okay, so we've had a very lively question and answer session. I know there are a lot of questions, but maybe over lunch we can have some of them. Ma'am, you had a few lines to say, and that really will sort of summary of the Q&A.
Sir, my name is Kalpana. I'm here, sir, from the TIS Guwahati off campus. I could not sit as a spectator mute. In humility, I stand to pay tribute. You've spoken to us in verse and rhyme. We did not realize the passage of time. Your words will remain an eternal inspiration and not an empty aspiration as we work towards matters more sublime. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful way to end the Q&A. Thank you so much, ma'am. I now invite Dr. Zubin Mullah to deliver the vote of thanks.
Distinguished Chair, Mr. Ramadorai, respected Speaker, Mr. Nadir Godrej, Vice Chancellor, Professor Badri Narayan Tiwari, distinguished guests, colleagues, students and friends. After a morning so rich in verse, I cannot resist adding one more final poem. But this is not original. I'm going to steal from Mr. Nadir Godrej his poem, A Vote of Thanks. A vote of thanks, that thankless task, I don't know why they always ask. Some silly fool on the stage, which is me, while all of you just seethe and rage. I do not wish to be a bore, so very soon I'll end this chore, unquote. So normally a vote of thanks can be just a formality, but I think sensing the atmosphere in the room today, it is much more than just an obligation. It is an expression of our collective engagement today. First and foremost, our heartfelt thanks to Mr. Nadir Godrej for delivering an address. Your address was thoughtful, reflective, and deeply aligned with the spirit of this lecture. You have not only spoken about business and society, you have helped us see how values, purpose, and enterprise can be woven together in practice. And in doing so, you have honored the legacy of Mr. Ratan Tata in the most meaningful way. Your unique delivery in verse, of course, as all of us can attest, brought a rare lyrical grace to the occasion. We are equally grateful to Mr. S. Ramadorai sir for chairing this session with such wisdom and grace. Mr. Ramadorai, you have been a long-time mentor of TISS. Your presence leads both credibility and continuity to our efforts at preserving the memory of Mr. Ratan Tata. your rich insights on the use of technology with guardrails will be a roadmap for us going forward. Our sincere appreciation to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Badri Narayan Tiwari. Professor Tiwari conceived this annual memorial lecture in which the focus was on looking at the interface of business and society. He also selected the speaker for this year's lecture. With such a good beginning, we are certain that this will become a lasting intellectual tradition at TISS. The Ratan Tata Memorial Lecture will add to the series of initiatives that we have undertaken, like TIS Bharat, in which we seek to reach out to the corners of our great nation, where TIS currently is not present, and TIS Global, where we want to expand our wings to span the entire globe with our influence. I would like to especially thank Professor Shehnaz Kama. It was through your goodwill that we initially contacted Mr. Nadir Godrej. We really appreciate that. We thank our officiating registrar, Mr. Narendra Mishra, and Deputy Registrar, Mr. Ram Rathod, for their complete and unstinting support. Institutional initiatives such as this succeed because of the quiet administrative foundation that is provided by these people. Our thanks to Mr. Mahendra Singh, without whom nothing could have happened, and his team, consisting of Mr. Litesh, Mr. Pankaj, Mr. Rahul Shende, and several others, for organizing the infrastructure support, Mr. Shivakumar for flawless technological execution, the housekeeping and the support staff who created this space in which we could engage. A very special thanks to Ms. Sudha Ganpati, Mr. Ramesh Khare for their creative touch on all the individual posters, banners, invitations, and also the social media support. We thank the School of Media and Cultural Studies, and specifically Mr. Bharat and Mr. Mangesh for their help in photography, capturing these moments forever. Within the School of Management and Labor Studies, I must acknowledge my colleagues who worked tirelessly. Dr. Noel Machado, who planned every detail, made life difficult for most of us with his precision and care. Professor Sasmita Palo, who coordinated the invitations and outreach. Dr. Ruchi Singh, who was there right in the beginning till the end, throughout this as a foundational member of the team. Ms. Rija Rajan and Ms. Ashwini Hambire for their steady and dependable support. And above all, our enthusiastic student volunteers who've been running around and helping us throughout this effort. Our wonderful masters of ceremonies, Ms. Rohini Kulkarni and Ms. Priya Singh, brought so much warmth and clarity to the proceedings. Thank you for holding the event together so well. Last but not the least, to all our invited guests, friends from the press, retired faculty, senior faculty, current faculty, staff, students, and alumni, thank you for being here. The memorial lecture is not sustained just by a speaker. It is sustained by a community which wishes to engage and listen. Today's lecture has shown us how vital such a community is, especially at a moment like this, where businesses must be aware of their social responsibility and their obligations towards nation building. May this memorial lecture become a space where reflection deepens, where business and society converse honestly, and where the legacy of Mr. Ratan Tata continues to inspire generations of students. Thank you.
Thank you for that heartfelt vote of thanks. Today's energy has truly been tremendous, and today's lecture has truly taught us that creativity and critical thinking can go together. With this, we are nearing the end of today's memorial lecture. In a short while, we will be playing the national anthem. However, we have a few quick closing instructions for the audience to keep in mind. At TISS, we do not restrict our learning to classrooms and encourage our students to step out in order to explore real-world context and contribute meaningfully to society through field action projects. We invite all of you to kindly visit the field action project stalls set up on the ground floor of Jamshedji Tata School of Disaster Studies for you to get an insight into all the interesting work our teams at TISS are leading. The stalls are currently open and will remain open until 2:30 p.m. After the national anthem, all the students and staff are requested to only take the exit to your extreme left near the stage and collect your snack boxes on the way out. All the guests and faculty are requested to join us for lunch, arranged in the passage area outside. I would request the volunteers to kindly assist them then. With that, I now request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे